So I started this channel about a week and a half into the month of November because the Marvels had just came out, and I had a lot of opinions about the Marvel movies, and I want to share why I wasn't gonna go watch the new Marvels film that had recently come out. But in the meantime, there's been a lot of movies that have come out in November that I wanted to give individual reviews to some of them. I just didn't find the time. And as I'm trying to start up this new YouTube channel, I definitely want to, start talking about new releases that come out every month. For now, I'm just going to kind of put them all into one video of every single movie that I've seen in November, and maybe even talk about like some TV shows and some books that I've read this month. Now, just to be clear, I haven't seen every single movie that came out this month. For example, I still haven't seen Ridley Scott's Napoleon. I'm really looking forward to that one. I've heard a lot of mixed things, which means there's going to be a lot to talk about in regards to that movie. Emerald Fennell's Saltburn. I really enjoyed her previous film, Promising Young Woman. I haven't had a chance to watch Saltburn yet. I've been kind of busy. My goal is to see that maybe within the next week or two. I definitely want to see it in theaters before it leaves theaters. The film just overall from the trailers looks really great. I really love a lot of the cinematography going on. I did hear mixed reviews about that one too, which just like Napoleon, that means there's going to be a lot to talk about with that movie. Perhaps I'll review that within the coming weeks. I also haven't seen Disney's Wish. I had no interest in watching it. The trailers kind of didn't do anything for me. I typically like to see Disney animated movies. This one just had nothing going for me, so I decided to skip it this month. But we're going to go ahead and review all the movies that came out in theaters that I was able to see in the month of November. First, let's talk about Taika Waititi's latest film, Next Goal Wins. This one stars Michael Fassbender as Coach Thomas Rogan. He's sent to American Samoa in order to help the team get at least one goal. They don't want to win a game, they just want to get at least one goal because they're notorious for how bad their team is. They lost a soccer game against Australia. They lost 31-0, which is absolutely incredible. I don't know how you lose a game that badly. I'm a huge fan of Taika Waititi. I love a lot of his filmography. I love What We Do in the Shadows. Hunt for the Wilder People I really enjoyed. Jojo Rabbit was really fantastic. His Thor movies, I'm not that big a fan of. I thought Thor Ragnarok was okay. It had its funny moments, but I feel like the script was kind of a mess. And then Thor Love and Thunder, that movie was kind of crap, which was really disappointing for Waititi. I didn't enjoy Ragnarok, but I thought, hey, I think Thor Love and Thunder might have some of the same script issues, but maybe it'll be funnier, and it just wasn't funny. But otherwise, I enjoy a lot of his work. I enjoy Reservation Dogs. I enjoy What We Do in the Shadows, the TV show. I think he's a guy who constantly turns out funny movies and funny shows. And I'm really disappointed to say that Next Goal Wins isn't all that funny. I wish I laughed more. There are a couple jokes in there that are really entertaining, but for the most part, I just didn't laugh as much as I wanted to with this film. A lot of the jokes just felt like they were missing a lot of heart in them, and they felt very lackluster and lazy, which isn't typical for Waititi. He has a very unique sense of humor. Like you could tell when you watch a Taika Waititi movie. Like his comedy kind of stands out against the typical studio comedies that usually come out. Like I saw the movie about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I'm struggling to remember any decent jokes, any jokes that like really made me laugh. For the most part, all the jokes that come to mind were the blandest ones, the ones where I didn't really laugh in theaters. And overall, like I just found the story very underwhelming. This is a very typical underdog sports story. So if you've seen The Karate Kid, if you've seen Coach Carter, you're getting a movie very similar to that. And there's nothing wrong with a formulaic movie. I can enjoy plenty of movies that do follow a formula. I just wish this movie added more to the formula. And that, along with how boring the jokes were, kind of just made this movie fall flat for me. What this movie could have done better is I just wish that it gave more emphasis to the American Samoan team and some of the characters in there. The only character within the American Samoan soccer team that gets any depth, that gets explored, is the character Jaya. She was one of the first transgender players in the FIFA in that sport. And she has a really interesting relationship with Michael Fassbender's character, Thomas Rogan, that definitely was the highlight of the movie for me. But I just wish some of the other American Samoan players got more attention and we got to learn more about their culture and their daily life, which is something that I thought Waititi was trying to do with this movie. I just don't think it landed. It's really disappointing to get a kind of lackluster movie from Waititi, the second one in a row. Like I said, I didn't like Thor Love and Thunder. I'm hoping this is just like a little slump that he's going through, and I hope his next movie is a banger. I hope he makes something really great, really funny, and really endearing. Up next, we got Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. That title is way too long, but it's another entry into the Hunger Games franchise. The last Hunger Games movie we got was Mockingjay Part 2, which I think came out in 2015. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. The Hunger Games was a big part of my middle school and early high school years. I remember reading the books when I was in middle school. I was like in 7th grade when I read the first trilogy. And then the first movie came out in 2012. I was like 12 years old or about to be 13. I was going into 8th grade. And the series ended in the year 2015 when I believe I was in either 9th or 10th grade. I'm not too sure on that. And like I said, I remember this being a big part of my middle school years. I remember reading all the books. I watched all the movies, except for the last one. I didn't see Mockingjay Part 2, which I'm getting around to. Me and my girlfriend are rewatching the entire series. What I wish the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes had more of was, I guess, more of a biting political thriller side of it. And the movie tries to have that. This is a movie about Coriolanus Snow, about his uprising through Panem, how he started to gain power, and his beginning journey into that. And it also follows him mentoring a Hunger Games contestant by the name of Lucy Gray from District 12. And there's some interesting things in the movie. Like, for example, what I really liked is seeing how the early days of the Hunger Games were, how they kind of didn't have much respect for it, and how Coriolanus gave a lot of good ideas that kind of made it more appreciated within the capital. And that aspect I found really interesting, how the Hunger Games was a tool of oppression, but even how this tool of oppression needed to be reinvigorated at some point and kind of needed more ideas and needed more stakes in it. That way it could be something that's really effective in oppressing the rest of the districts. You also get to see how Coriolanus Snow gave all these ideas and it helped him rise through the ranks of Panem, how it helped him rise and get to the power position that he is currently in within the Hunger Games series. That aspect, that takes up about the first hour or so of the movie, that aspect is really great. What's not great about this film is, for one, the romance between Lucy Gray and Coriolanus Snow. It kind of fell flat for me. I didn't find much to invest in with that romance. I kind of didn't understand why they would be in love. Coriolanus is from the capital. He only cares about power. Lucy Gray is all about survival, and she is oppressed by Panem and the capital. And I wish that's something that they gave more depth into. That's also supposed to be the ultimate tragedy of the movie. Their romance on that falling apart and Coriolanus choosing power over her. And I have issue with Coriolanus's character arc. It didn't work for me. It tried to have him be both a heartthrob but also a power-hungry maniac at the same time. There's never any moment in the film where you see him struggle with that. And any moments that they did try just really didn't work for me. And the ending just falls very flat, because at the ending is Coriolanus rising through the ranks. It's him deciding to take control and get more power and someday become president of the capital. And it kind of tries to show him as this dark, cunning person, which he isn't. He isn't some dark, cunning Tyrion Lannister type character, Tywin Lannister type character, who manipulated all these people, who created his own rules in order to rise through the ranks. No, he just had his heart broken and said, okay, I'm gonna become evil now. This is gonna be the last negative review I give. I did see David Fincher's The Killer. Everybody seems to be loving it except for me. I found it to be kind of a slog. I really loved his filmmaking and his editing, his precision. I thought it was really interesting that he made a movie about a hitman who's a perfectionist who keeps fucking up throughout the entire movie. I thought that was a really intriguing idea. Other than that, I just found it to be kind of a run-of-the-mill revenge thriller. Nothing about the story or the script really intrigued me. I wish that the story had more depth to it. It was just kind of a slog, kind of boring, and I'm struggling to think of things to say about it. I don't want to be too negative in this video, so let's start talking about some stuff that I really did enjoy. Priscilla is Sofia Coppola's latest film. She wrote and directed this movie, and this is a movie about Priscilla Presley, the wife of Elvis Presley, how they met when Priscilla was only 14 years old and Elvis was 24. And it kind of showcases the abuse and the isolation that Priscilla went through in her marriage with Elvis Presley. And I gotta say, I really enjoyed this film as much as you can enjoy a film about child grooming and then abuse and isolation within a marriage. I think Jacob Elordi gives a wonderful performance as Elvis, and then Kaylee Spaney also gives a great performance as Priscilla. They're very understated performances. You're not gonna see any Oscar clip moments, so there's no big yelling. There's no big monologues. It's very much like a smaller performance, which I really enjoyed. I really enjoy when I see performances like that are very subtle and I don't feel the need to constantly be yelling and monologuing. This movie gives a really great glimpse into Priscilla's life, the isolation that she felt as she was married to Elvis, and also how creepy the whole situation was. And the movie doesn't beat you over the head with the creepiness of Elvis grooming a 14-year-old. It kind of just shows you the details. And the movie respects its audience enough for the audience to know that, like, yeah, trying to marry a 14-year-old is not okay. I think the production design is really great. It perfectly puts you into Graceland. The production was really great. I really loved the cinematography. I think this movie was beautifully shot. The costumes were great. The way they make Jacob Elordi look like Elvis, they make it look really subtle, and his performance is also just really subtle. It seems very seamless. Like he didn't even have to try that hard. But he captures a lot of the Elvis mannerisms, the accent, and then the way he dresses looks exactly like Elvis back in his heyday. If I do have any complaints with the movie, it's with the ending. The ending just feels very abrupt. And Priscilla makes a very important choice at the end of the movie, and you don't really get to see any insight into why she made the choice that she did. I wish that was something that they delved into more. I wish they showed her being more proactive at the end, and making that choice. It kind of just ends because the movie had to end at some point. But definitely worth checking out, especially if you're a fan of Sofia Coppola and her filmography and how she focuses on feminism and also isolation and loneliness. I think it's another really good film in her filmography. Last but not least, I did see Alexander Payne's latest film, The Holdovers, starring Paul Giamatti, and I really love this movie. The more I think about it, the more a lot of the jokes kind of stay ingrained in my brain. A lot of the story beats just worked really well for me. This film is about Paul Giamatti. He's a very strict history teacher within this all-boys boarding school, and he's forced to stay over Christmas with one of the students whose parents abandoned him on Christmas. Not only is he stuck with that one student, but he's also stuck with one of the lunch ladies, played by Dovine Joy Randolph. And so the three of them spend Christmas break together. They're isolated in this school. They all have to learn how to get along while also dealing with varying levels of loneliness, and kind of have to build this friendship over. But overall, this is a movie just about the different kinds of loneliness that people feel. For example, when we look at Priscilla, it's a loneliness that stems from abuse. Holdovers is about three different kinds of loneliness. There's abandonment. The main character, Angus, is abandoned by his parents on Christmas. Then there's the loneliness of grief, where the lunch lady, played by Dovine Joy Randolph, her character's name is Mary Lamb. She lost a son in the Vietnam War, and she's dealing with that grief and dealing with not having anyone on Christmas during the holidays. And then you have Paul Giamatti's character, Paul Hunnam, who kind of didn't go anywhere in life. He saw all of his peers kind of do more than him in their lives, and he's stuck teaching at this school that he doesn't really like. He won't say that he doesn't like it, but he doesn't like it. And because of that, he's kind of just driven away a lot of the people in his life. He's become kind of a dick to his students. So his students don't even like him, and he feels that isolation, that loneliness. And in this movie, you just see these three characters come together and you build this really strong connection, and kind of help each other in their lonely periods of life. And I thought that was really beautiful to see. The comedy is top notch. I was laughing throughout the entire movie. I thought this movie was just really great. This is probably going to end up within at least my top 15 favorite movies of the year. This is just a wonderful movie. So that's all the movies, the new releases that I saw. Real quick, I'll just talk about some TV shows and some books I've been reading. I'll talk about the books first. I read Bram Stoker's Dracula. I'm a huge horror fan, so I had to go back and read one of the classics. This was my first time reading it. Along with that, I watched Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula. The book I thought was really good. It was really atmospheric. I really liked how the book was a collection of like diary entries and newspaper clippings. I thought that was a really interesting way to tell this story. It is an older book, so some aspects did seem kind of slow to me, especially towards the end. I just thought the end dragged on for way too long. There was a lot of exposition and a lot of monologuing from Abraham Van Helsing about how we got to kill Dracula and how Dracula is the most evil thing in the world. And Mina, oh sweet Mina, oh you're the greatest things that happened to us. You're such a sweet person. I swear he had that same monologue like at least 10 times at the end of this book. I was like, okay, let's get to the point where you start doing some vampire hunting. Otherwise, I thought this book was really intriguing. I really loved how they handled Dracula, how they made him really intimidating. One thing I find interesting about the Dracula book versus his adaptations is Dracula in this book is just a monster. He's just the embodiment of pure evil, and all he cares about is getting his kill. And I thought that was really intriguing, especially when we watch Dracula movies. He always seems to have like some lost love that he is trying to get back to, some resurrection of his past wife. That's definitely present in Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula. The love story is very strong there. I mean, strong in the sense that it's a very prominent part of the movie. Not strong in the sense that it works in the movie. I thought the romance didn't work at all. But the visuals of that movie, how he visualized Bram Stoker's Dracula, I thought was great. I loved all the shadows. I loved all the special effects. I loved the lighting, the sets, the costumes. It's a beautiful movie to look at with a really weak script. That script just needed some more depth in there. It's funny because I feel like Coppola's film kind of rushes through a lot of the film, whereas the book kind of takes way too long to get to the point. There's got to be a happy middle. There's got to be a happy middle somewhere in there where it's not rushing through the story, but also it's not taking too damn long to get to the point where we kill Dracula. But yeah, I definitely recommend this book if you're a fan of horror, if you're a fan of either horror books or horror movies. You got to read Dracula. It's one of the classics. You have to read this book. And then finally, moving on to television, I finally started watching The Bear. I'm about halfway through season 2, and this has become one of my new favorite TV shows. This show is amazing. And the first time you watch it, you're going to say, wow, this show is chaotic, it's messy, it's anxiety-inducing, kind of like a Safdie Brothers movie, kind of like Good Time or Uncut Gems. It has that same cinematography where it's very up close, it's very shaky, it's very fast-cutting, and that adds to a lot of the chaos and the adrenaline and the anxiety that you feel in this show. And I gotta imagine that it captures the everyday life of someone running a restaurant, the messiness of it all. What's really great about this show is that it can go from being really fast-paced, really anxiety-inducing, really messy, to something that's really sweet and really tender and about ambitions and about how these characters want to do more with the restaurant. They want to see their skills grow. They want to see their restaurant grow. They want to see their business grow. And I thought a lot of that is really beautiful. And it really made me like a lot of these characters a lot and made me want to root for them. And I want to see them have a very great business. I want to see their restaurant flourish. I want to see their craft be more amazing than it ever was. So yeah, I'm about halfway through season 2. I'm loving it. I highly recommend that show. And if you love food, then you're gonna love the show. Don't watch it on an empty stomach. That's a very bad idea. And yeah, that's everything that I've watched in November so far. What have you watched in November? Tell me, have you read a new book? Have you watched a new TV show? Watched a movie that I haven't mentioned that you think I should really watch? Let me know down in the comments what you watched this month. And also while you're doing that, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. That way you can see more of my future videos. But that's going to be all for today. Thank you for watching. Peace out, and I'll see y'all at the movies.